Wanted to show you this clip from CNN in which they are propping up Joe Biden, explaining why he has support. They are advocating for Pete Buttigieg and again ignoring candidates like Bernie Sanders, Andrew Yang. Go ahead and enjoy this video.
Let's talk about the top four, those who are above 3% in our November poll. And I think the trend line here is rather important because there's some interesting little nuggets that we can sort of tease out. Number one, Joe Biden, steady as ever, right? 28%. He's always been right around 30%. This is down a little bit from October, but it's above September, all within the margin of error. Pete Buttigieg, this is his best standing in a CNN national poll so far at 11%. And Elizabeth Warren, she was at 19% in October. She's down to 14% now. This is one of a number of polls that is showing her dropping in the presidential race, at least nationally.
And you talk about Pete Buttigieg on the rise in our poll. In another poll, he's up even more, but you see movement here.
Yeah, there's definite movement, but it's important to point out where that movement is. It's mostly among his white base. He's at 17% now among white voters versus 9% October. Among non-white potential Democratic primary voters, he's at just 4% now. That's only up 2 points since October. So, in fact, that racial gap with Buttigieg is actually getting wider.
Camerata thinks 3% is a big deal, though. All of a sudden,
if
3
you
is
got
the new
in
90.
yesterday, if you got in yesterday, as Bloomberg did, then you're at 3%. Bingo.
That's basically where he was before he got in, anyway.
All right.
One other sort of nugget in terms of the breakdown in terms of race, and I think this is important, right? Which is Joe Biden's African American sort of base in this Democratic primary. I took an average of the October and November polls to get a substantial enough sample size so we could do this, and he's at 49% among African Americans. All other candidates combined receive only 40% among African Americans. So that gives you an understanding. And it's not just non-whites, right? Hispanics and whites are actually voting rather similarly. It's really African Americans who are jettisoning him up.
Okay, so then I want to highlight the headline below me. So this is also CNN. This was from March 2019. But they have articles written saying polls show Bernie Sanders' popularity among all voters is plummeting. Okay, keep in mind that CNN has a specific narrative that they're trying to put out. There are polls that show Bernie Sanders leading, but they never cover those polls. What does Joe Biden stand for? What exactly does he stand for? Centrism? Good old boys club? People say compromise and getting along, potentially, but in reality, like Joe Biden, this isn't opinion, like he hasn't been doing great on the debate stage. He's been fumbling over his words. He's not near as popular as he used to be. If so, then he would have been probably endorsed by Obama by now. But they show Pete Buttigieg, talk about all the great support he's getting. Imagine if someone like Andrew Yang received the same coverage that someone like Pete Buttigieg does. Andrew Yang is the most talked about candidate, or the most tweeted about candidate. He's the most talked about candidate on social media. If he was getting the same kind of positive coverage that Pete Buttigieg was getting, there's some analysts that are saying that he would be higher in the polls. But you look at this, though. Polls show Bernie Sanders' popularity among all voters is plummeting. Okay. They would never consider doing an article like that about Joe Biden. Understand, the owners of CNN, they want Joe Biden to win. They don't want Bernie to win. Bernie writes about it in Our Revolution, how the corporate media is owned by the billionaire class. These are the same people that own drug companies. These are people that do not want to see Medicare for all passed. They benefit and have financial gain from the insurance industry, from pharmaceuticals. So someone like Bernie Sanders is a real threat to them. You never would see an article that says polls show Joe Biden popularity among all voters is plummeting, even though that's a fact. You're not seeing articles like that that are put out. So this is just highlighting specifics with Bernie. And so there's an analyst writing saying that Sanders had been benefiting from not being in a competitive campaign. So back in 2016, it was just him and Hillary, for example, and now they're arguing that because there's so many competitive Democrats, he's not doing as well. But again, just wanted to highlight just some of the hypocrisy with the media. Wanted to highlight the fact that Bernie Sanders, Andrew Yang, those candidates are not covered well by the media. Andrew Yang was given such little time to talk in the debates, in the 5th debate, just in November, about a week and a half ago, compared to candidates that he is higher than in many polls. People like Kamala Harris and Amy Klobuchar, Cory Booker. Those candidates all received way more time than Andrew Yang. And so I just wanted to, again, emphasize that we need more independent media outlets and not these huge conglomerates that are putting on the debates. We need really people to be able to do research on a variety of candidates and not be swayed. The media, they try to claim that they're just calling balls and strikes, they're just calling it how it is. Groups like CNN and MSNBC, but they are creating a narrative. They're crafting a narrative to try and influence the voting of the people. And they only show polls that are meant to convey what they want conveyed. They cherry pick the polls that they show. If you like this video, and if you like other subjects like history and psychology, go ahead and subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching.